Yeah, DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on. Niggas out here making moves. See a hand out the type of shit they waiting on.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? Got a special guest in the house, Tender. Um, I put together a nice little presentation on some topics that she wants to talk about, and I'm actually really anxious to hear everybody's feedback. Right? You know, some of this is catching me a little bit by surprise, but I'm glad she wants to talk about it. I'm actually really anxious to hear it. So I'm gonna just get the show on the road. How are you doing today, Tender?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I am doing good. You were kind enough to join the show, even though you're dealing with some injuries back home. So I really appreciate it. You know, you definitely didn't have to be here.
Yeah. I really love it, and I'm glad you invited me back.
I tried my best to encourage you to get some rest, but I'm glad you actually showed up. So
Thank you.
let's see here. So let me get into this.
Yeah, because that's gonna be exciting. This is gonna be exciting. If you're interested at all in BDSM, this is a good time to get a pen and a pad. I can't hear you. Are you still? I don't know if I can hear you guys or not.
Let's see. This isn't the one where I've got all the big stuff in there. This is gotta be it. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Ed, I'm gonna read it and let you comment on the parts that you wanted to talk about, okay?
Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
So our intro, right? Understanding and nurturing insecurities in relationships. Now I notice you put relationships and not just BDSM, right? Utilizing psychological aspects of BDSM to foster acceptance and growth. So
Right. So the first thing I want to do, my goal, my aim in visiting with you guys tonight is to talk about some misconceptions, some psychological misconceptions that we find a lot in people who are just crossing over into BDSM. And also, I want to talk about healing, how we handle insecurities, how we heal insecurities, rather than, making them worse and picking on them or hiding them or tucking them. And how we can use BDSM to create, a healthier stability inside of people in their mind. And there's, the spaces that they are insecure in. So I want to talk about, first of all, the misconceptions. So the misconceptions that I find a lot in people who are coming over to BDSM is maybe things like, oh, this is might be watched because it's so freaky.
Wait a second, you're breaking up.
There's so many insecurities on the table. Can you hear me?
Breaking up, but I can hear you now.
Okay. So you might come into BDSM and think there's so many insecurities here. Or there's so many oddities here. This is really, really freaky, and it's really, really different than the vanilla world. And it is different, but there's a misconception in that. In BDSM, all your stuff is on the table. So you're not walking into something and then uncovering someone like an onion with a lot of layers, finding out as you go all of the things that make them uncomfortable. In vanilla, you kind of put your best foot forward in a dating scene. That's the first thing people see is the best of you. And then they find out the rest of you as it goes on, and it's very chaotic. So what you're witnessing when you're starting to get to know BDSM people and in the, inside the community is you're witnessing everything on the table, right? Which looks a lot different. And so going right into it, we don't pick on insecurities. We understand that there are different people with different personalities. So I want to talk about first how we label. So to us, a woman might see some man and she might say, oh my God, he's so controlling. He's so bossy. He's so authoritarian. I just, he's a control freak, and we're going to label him a dom. We're going to accept that he likes to be in control. We're going to take off of him that stigmatism that says that there's something wrong with being in control. And instead, he's going to discipline that, right? He's going to hone it and make it a skill. Okay. Then you might have somebody where you say, she's so clingy. Oh my God. Every second she wants to be around me. And then she's so weak. She's so passive. We're not doing that to her. We're going to label her a submissive. Okay. We're going to say this is a person who is very strong where trust is concerned. She is very loyal. She has a willingness to follow, and she's, and support. And so we're gonna look at that. We're gonna frame it. We're gonna discipline it, and we're gonna make it a superpower. Okay, these insecurities. Then you might have somebody that says this person's so, indecisive. 1 minute they're up, and next minute they're down, and 1 minute they're doing this, and now they want to be in control. Now they want to be soft. We're gonna label that a switch. Okay. And we're going to say the flexibility and adaptability of that person is a superpower. We're going to discipline it, right? So that they're not using their self as a weapon, right? And we're going to teach them how to be open and how to be true and how to tell the truth so that they're getting with somebody who needs that superpower, right? And then we got, our overbearingly controlling, oppressive guy, and this is how vanilla is going to frame him, right? But we're going to tell him he's a master, right? Or a mistress, right? And we're going to go ahead and show him the disciplinary actions that help him to hone that as a superpower. Then you've also got a slave. So we're going down these BDSM labels, right? A slave, you might in the vanilla world, you say that's a doormat, just push over. She's so spineless, but not here. Here, we're going to look at those personality traits and hone that. Her devotion, her selflessness, her willingness for total surrender. We're going to make that a superpower. Okay, and we're going to call her a slave, not a doormat, right? And then you have. You have your kind of infantized, immature, attention-seeking. I always need this attention, and these people are going to frame you terrible in vanilla, right? But here we're going to accept that. We're going to call you a pet. Okay. You're a pet. What is that? You're playful. You're affectionate. You desire affection all the time. You want to foster loving and joyful dynamic. You want to emphasize, care and fun. And so you're a pet, right? And then you have a primal.
And when you say pet, you're actually talking about somebody who enjoys, putting on some revealing outfits and, possibly pretending to be somewhat of a pet, right? Like actually.
Well, of course, everything has its scales. So, I have myself, I have a pet trait, but I'm not about to dress up like a kitty cat for you. So everything has its scales, and it depends upon that person, right? So as you're getting to know this person, you're not picking, you're figuring out where they sit in the spectrum. And if you really want to deal with that consensually, do you need that personality type? Is that a good connection for you? Now, there's 3 more of these, and it's important to have these labels, right? In a BDSM conversation, you have primal, right? Very savagely aggressive person, right? And in vanilla, that's what they're going to call him or her, right? This is uncivilized the way you want to do this, but to us, it's passion, right? Engagement and primal play. They want to showcase, they want to do something, they want to get their natural instincts going, and they want to have genuine expressions of their natural wildness, So we're okay with that primal. And then you have a sadist, right? Now, in the vanilla world, they're going to say this person is cruel, is heartless, sadistic, terrible. He just he thinks pinching me, it's fun. So they're going to pick on him, right? But in BDSM, we're going to look at his attention to detail, his attention to the intensity that he's giving, right? His awareness of the limits of his partner, his awareness of how far his partner wants to go, his ability to be intense, right? Because there's somebody who wants that intensity. And he's going to make sure it's consensual. He's going to make sure it's negotiated, because here we're going to go ahead and discipline that and keep it and make it a superpower. And then you got a masochist, and that's the last one I'm going to talk about tonight. And that masochist, in the vanilla world, they might say that's self-destructive, that's unstable, this masochist. But this masochist is also resilient. They got a lot of endurance. Their enjoyment of certain things caters to another personality type, right? And so they like to overcome intense sensations. They have a strength and a capacity for experiencing like an amazing range of, stimuli. And so This is very exciting for somebody else. So we break things down inside of BDSM, and we normalize ourselves because that's fair. Now, how you can utilize this also in the vanilla world is when you're changing your discipline inside of BDSM, where you're not picking on people anymore. And the first thing you have to do is stop picking on yourself. There are a lot of insecurities.
We lost you for a minute.
Sorry. I saw that. There's a lot of insecurities. We all have them. Okay. We have different intensities of them, but there's a lot of insecurities in the vanilla world, that you might find that in your vanilla life, and you can use some of these principles we talk about tonight to nurture your partner. There's body image insecurities. People can get these insecurities from lots of places. You can get a body image insecurity just from, the social norm, or what's running on TV, or what's running, things that happen to you when you're young, or just because, something that happened to you in another relationship. Yeah, financial stability. This guy is not rich. This guy is, and you might have, a little job, and the other guy's got a big job, and it might be playing in the background, but it's there, Oh, sorry. it keeps going out on me. But these insecurities, emotional availability and trust issues, intellectual inadequacy, social acceptance, these are all insecurities that different people have different ones, and they have different, powers. It's intense for somebody and it's not so intense for somebody else. When we find those insecurities in BDSM, and it's usually the dom's job, I'm just going to put that right out there on the table. Because doms like to be in control. It's one of their superpowers. One of the things we do is we start understanding the personalities and the behaviors. So that's one of the things we do. And that's why you did that great test last week. Trying to figure out who somebody is like the first thing on the table, right? And that's not for us to start to pick. It's for us to make sure we're vetting properly. It's for us to see what we're dealing with so we can deal with it responsibly, right? And we have an acceptance of who you are. And then we structure the relationship around who we are. We don't do it the other way around. And so that's probably why a lot of people go into BDSM and be like, oh my God, these insecurities, because they're right there out on the table. If that person has been in BDSM for a while, they're not hiding any cutting any, corners or hiding anything. And then even if you're in a vanilla state and you're walking up on a woman or a man and you begin to have a conversation with this person, if you've disciplined yourself in BDSM, you're listening for the cues that tell you who this person is, right? So you're getting a better view of what you're dealing with, even if you're dealing with somebody who's primarily just vanilla, right? And you're guessing to yourself, what should I ask? What should I, so that you won't go too far, because, vanilla people like to tuck everything. So, but what you want to do is accept who this person is, and then see if you can consensually deal with who they really are. Right. And then structure. Now, here's the big kicker.
Let's slow down a little bit for a second, because you said a lot, and I want to start unpacking some of the stuff, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to just share, I'm going to try to do that with sharing some of my little personal experiences, because, some of the stuff that you said is where I really found some good comfort, right? And then trying and incorporating BDSM into my relationship. Way that it allowed me to communicate some of the things I thought were, initially some things that I could be insecure about, or some of the desires that I may have. I mean, without getting like super graphic about it, but being able to put those things out on the table was beyond refreshing, right? Like it allowed the conversation to actually take a turn, like, for, in a way that I really didn't initially expect it, right? Like I would almost assume that, these things that I like, I might slowly work them into the relationship. Whereas in the BDSM, we can put these things right here out on the table and see if they're, in your wheelhouse or not, right? Like, no matter how extreme they actually are. So there's actually some comfort to that, right? Like it's really not about trying to impose your desires on somebody, but more try to look for the mesh, right? Of somebody who's compatible with the desires that you actually have, no matter how wild they are, right? Like, primal is, can be a bit on the edgier side, but it definitely appeals to somebody like me. So I would need to be, in good communication with somebody about, how far is too far. So how much are you going to like these kinds of things, and that way it doesn't have to be like some big secret that I'm hiding, and we can actually find a healthy way for us both to be able to enjoy that side of myself.
And that help has a lot to do with honest communication, boundaries, safe words, consent, all these fundamental principles that we use inside of the BDSM community. And also creating a safe space for a partner to express two things: insecurities and desires. And then as a dom, with this responsibility of controlling what is happening in both of you, this is the framework you use to create your rules, right? Uh, your punishment, which should be playful. It should not be something that's going to cause damage to anybody. Um, rules should rules should align with who the person is and who the person is trying to be. Their goals, their ambitions. Rules should help the submissive become better. Um, they're not just a plaything. They can be playful too, but they're not just a plaything. They are also for the structure, and the betterment of both parties. And also they're for uh, covering and protecting each other's vulnerable spaces, right? So what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, what the Dom is allowed to do and not allowed to do. Uh, what is the Dom going to do if he breaks the rule, right? How am I going to make a fair deal out of this contract, right? Of what's going to be happening in this relationship. And so that's usually the responsibility of the dominant. And just want to make sure that whatever's going on in that person, you can consensually deal with, right? And you're willing to be the party that's in control to protect you both, and to make sure you both are meeting your desires, and you're both safe and covered. And then you add some play into it. Mm-hmm.
Quick question. So we got a question from the audience out there. It says, "What advice do you have for dealing with societal judgment or stigma related to BDSM, and how can someone build a supportive community?"
Well, societal judgment is gonna be, right. And this is a clean show, but I'm gonna say F them. We'll use the F word. Because if they knew what they were doing, there wouldn't be the divorce rate we're seeing right now. So, when people are not educated on something, when I walked into the BDSM community, and somebody was trying to teach me little by little, I was like, what type of freak, kind of crazy? I had my own judgments and they came from society. Okay.
Right.
I was
right. You bring those. You bring
it with you.
Right. You bring them in there. Yeah. Society tells you you're only supposed to, whatever. And, so you bring that in there for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So you really have to, because you're more educated, because you're starting to read, because you're starting to study. You really, I know it sounds really, superficial as an answer, but you really have to ignore people who are just ignorant in the subject matter. If they're willing to listen, you could try to explain, you could share some information, but it's the red pill and blue pill with BDSM. When you're walking out of vanilla, you've made a decision. You don't want to be in the matrix, right? And so you can't expect people who are solely vanilla and set in their ways to listen to you, because they're in a chaotic framework and they might be stuck, so you can't really worry about it. And what was the second part of the question?
How would you build a supportive community? I can answer that, but I'm sure I want to hear your answer.
Yeah, you can. You have to create community by bonding with the community that's there, right? And like this show is a great way to start building community. But also, if you're not the kind of person who's going to, get out on Front Street and try to, be on a video or whatever, you can build community in groups. You can join groups. You can start to make friends. You can get, like we said on the other show, you can get an account online if you're just very introverted and you're not going out. I have a lot of I looked on Facebook for some very serious BDSM communities. They have some wonderful BDSM communities, and you can tell by the rules. The Facebook groups always have these great rules, and you can kind of tell by the rules that they've really thought this thing out. A good group is not a bunch of doms vetting for subs. It's not a bunch of subs looking for daddies. A good group is not about to be vetting you. They're really there as a support group.
place where you could bring those whatever the kind of questions are, and it's just about surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. That's you can transfer that into other areas of life, right? You surround yourself with other like-minded, even some more educated people, and that's how you grow in anything, right? Like not too long ago, I think we had a conversation with some of the other Tribe Media members, man, about the 48 laws of power. And one of those is get a mentor, get somebody who has information and defer to them and learn as much as you can. Right. I mean, that's kind of, it's like the not breaking the wheel at that point, that's just what you do. But you did surround yourself with other like-minded, healthy people, not people who are bringing their insecurities to BDSM. So, okay. So where are we at in the presentation?
So we covered about acceptance and structure. I don't know. I think I had to spit all that out quickly. And I know it was quick, so I'm hoping people can go back to the video and look at it again and get as much.
I'm definitely following.
So you want to do regular check-ins, even if you're in vanilla. Right. So if you're changing over into a BDSM framework, you can definitely have a vanilla partner. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this has to do with you, right? And the discipline you're starting to take on when it comes to having healthy relationships, and still making it fun. So regular check-ins, scheduled times where you're gonna, this is the big one. We're going to talk about feelings, insecurities, or whatever it may be. You could, as a Dom, one of the great tools for that too could be like a composition book. And as just the head of the relationship, which is, that's how we would compare, sit it side by side, who's in control of this relationship. If you're in control, it doesn't matter if you're the woman or the man. If you have a passive partner, and you're in control, because there's always a dynamic of power in every relationship. So you know who you are if you're the person who leads the charge. You might bring in like a way to get a composition book. Maybe there's a journal time. If you're a Dom, you might want to make that a rule. You have to journal every day. If you're just, leading the charge in a vanilla, you might want to say, hey, let's get 2 composition books, and I'm going to say something every day, and you say something every day. And maybe that starts to become easier, for you guys to communicate. Nobody gets to make rules around it. Nobody gets to pick on whatever's in there. And it doesn't have to be about any specific thing, but you can share your insecurities in there. You can share your desires in there, and it can get fun. Because you might not know all your partner's little secret little fantasies, and you might even know how freaky they are, right? Because people talk to you things. So it can get really fun. So that's one of the things I think you should do. Regular check-ins, affirmations, compliments. Okay, make it a habit to compliment each other. Focus on the traits, and achievements. Make their personality a superpower. Do not pick, because that's going to be something hard, washing off all that mess from the social, madness that they need to come out of. It doesn't matter who you are. You need to come out of the judgmental space that has been programmed into you, even about you, and so it takes time to heal from that and wash that off. And you can help each other do that. I know a lot of Doms do like a psychological domination, and they work with submissives that are new to the game, and they look at this woman and they figure it out, or they look at this man and they figure it out what they're picking on themselves about. And their rules and their structure and everything are based upon breaking that cycle. You can do a lot of healing in this world that we're talking about right now. Quality time. You put some time aside for your relationship. It doesn't matter if you're in vanilla or BDSM, like all the way this time, these 2 or 3 hours, this is total relationship focus, and engage in activities together. You can do that too. And the last 2, I think, are healthy communication, which we keep banging all the time. Like you have to talk this stuff out. and that's hard for some people. But if you give empathetic responses, avoid criticizing inside of these communications. You're talking to understand, not talking to pick on something, and then support and encourage each other. And I think that these are the ways that we deal with insecurities, and it's not perfect, but I want to say that too. I'm not painting you a perfect picture. This is work. Just like in the vanilla side, it's work, but it's structured work and it has a goal that's real. And so it works better, So I just wanted to share that about the insecurities, and hopefully it'll heal some relationships.
Thanks. I thought that was a great answer, very detailed, But I think that's a really really good question too, because I think it could be really underestimated about what BDSM is about, what makes it healthy, why people even want to engage into it, right? I think looking at it from the outside, it can look like one thing, and then looking at it from the inside out, I could see where people would be confused about what it's actually about, and so I think that's a really good question, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely makes me feel like he's actually absorbing this information, which is what I wanted it to, it's what we want, for real.
That's what we want. Yeah.
Healthy conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that you got into, you didn't really get into fear of abandonment. You got into body imaging concerns. I don't remember you mentioning jealousy and trust issues or communication fears.
Well,
can you actually see it?
I was racking my brain to tell you the truth, Logic. Like, this is a really intense topic, right? And I was racking my brain on how to give an outline of this topic that somebody can take and then go study further and make it in your hour, right? So I was sitting here up to the last minute, like, how do I fit this into an hour, and make sure it's got everything. So
I don't think we should focus on trying to fit into an hour. I think, be really thorough, speak from the heart, and, give the information, you know what I'm saying? The parts that, and then, part of what I'm really interested in on this topic, right, is getting the ladies' perspective, right? I think you can learn a lot about relationships and things like this from guys, but to hear, the depth of what a lady's concern would be, I think that that's actually kind of interesting, right? I'm not completely closed off at all in any type of real way from trying to learn about relationships from a woman. Obviously not. My mentor is a woman, I listen to her opinion. I take it very seriously. So, I think that there is a place for that, right? That's a serious thing, right? So
yeah, I mean,
give us what you got.
I wish I could. So when I left Vanilla, I had some very interesting perceptions that were completely femininely geared about men and their behavior. And my opinion of men was horrible. I just thought they were horrible. And I just thought they were not bright, and they were not, I had a terrible opinion of men. I think as I started breaking away from the vanilla world, it kind of all melted away. I had mentors that were both males and females. I had doms and submissives. I took my time to crawl through the information and really try to clean up my opinion of me, which was not good. At the time, I felt like a weakling because I didn't know that I was a submissive and I had this superpower. I didn't understand. And so it took me a while. I think it kind of breaks that stigma that says, well, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. When you come over here, everybody is on a playing field. That means they're very, very valuable. So, and you're allowed to make somebody very, very valuable. I remember in vanilla, that was kind of like a weak trait too, right? If you gave this man too much power, it was a weak trait. If you gave this, you were pussy whipped. I'm sorry. I know it's I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use that word, but there was all this picking, and here it's okay to value somebody fully. So I think it's important to get opinions both ways as you go to study on from subs and doms, because it won't be sort of the feminine masculine thing that you used to have to deal with. You want to get information from people who are giving the power. You want to get information from people who are in control, and serious people who really take their position seriously. And I think as you start to get information from both sides, it'll start to make you flourish, So yeah, it's good to get opinions from women, but maybe not always in a, kind of vanilla thought pattern. You just want to kind of, I would say, edge away from that whole thinking,
Okay, I mean, I really appreciate that. One of the ladies that I really enjoy dealing with absolutely is a lot of work to make her feel valued, right? And I mean, I don't, sometimes it's, it is what it is, but it's also her in particular, right? She's very, very rewarding when she does feel valued. So, it's that process. You have to learn somebody, learn what it takes, have the amount of energy that's needed to actually go through all of that. So, it's a process. Everybody's different. Everybody's certainly not like her, like you, like me. So,
right.
We all have our things, for sure.
Right.
And, when we look at BDSM, you're probably just talking about someone who wants to feel valued in some very particular ways, right?
Yes, and someone who wants to be accepted the way they are. I think that's what gave me a freedom when I switched over. It was just that simple, and the foundational part of it was, hey, the way I'm valuable the way I already am. Mm-hmm. And what have I done wrong? I haven't vetted. I haven't made sure somebody completely knows me before I get connected, that they have consented to accepting me the way that I am. And they haven't done that for me either. So now I have just, experienced several relationships where I never consented to any of that. Emotionally consented, physically consented to any of that behavior, because I didn't even know that behavior was there. And the same for them. They've gone through the same challenges. And so that changed the way I look at men, right? Because now I have to take responsibility that, well, he didn't know me. And he didn't consent to deal with all these things that I desire, or my insecurities, or any of that, because he didn't really know me. So he was going through some stress too, right? I was unwrapping as we go, and he was unwrapping as we go, and we just put ourselves into some real madness. So now I'm not angry anymore. And that's another thing. You can heal the past very well with just taking responsibility for the fact that, hey, maybe I could back up a little bit because I got caught up in the game. I got caught up in the way they told me to do it. And that rushes across a lot of things, right? I got caught up in the game. They got me. And so now that I realize this was a very dishonest game, now I can formulate my thing different. And even if I'm inside of a relationship already finding this out, right? Now I know, even if I have to slow walk it, there are some things about my partner I need to stop complaining. I need to stop getting upset. I need to stop fighting, stop trying to change them. I need to step back and figure out exactly who they are, accept who they are, and then make a decision if I can consent to dealing with them the way they are. Right? And if I want them and I want to consent to dealing with them the way they are, now how do I have to structure this relationship? So that everybody's cool. Right. So it's very healing.
How you put that? I definitely like how you put that. So you want to go on to the next slide?
Oh yeah, sure. Tell me what it is, because guess what? I can't see my slides no more.
You can't see the slides?
No, I can't see. Well,
Okay,
I can't.
I'll just read it to you. So
Okay.
I got them up on the screen so people like watching can actually follow what we're actually talking about. So we're on the effects of the insecurities, right? Toxic behaviors, possessiveness, overdependence, and impact on relationship health. What did you want to say about that?
Okay, so let's go to effects. Hold on. I'm seeing if I can get my notes in front of me again. It's really bothering me that I can't. Okay, it's bothering me that I can't keep them up here. It's like I lose you or lose them. Okay, so somebody has body image problem. I'm going to do this from the perspective of a dom. Okay, I'm going to talk right now from the perspective of dominance. You meet this person, they have a body image problem. You're willing to deal with that. You're consenting to dealing with that part of them. What are the effects of that insecurity once you've uncovered it, once you've figured a way that's safe for them to express it? They wrote it in their little journal. So now you say, okay, what are the effects of this? That person's going to have low self-esteem. They might have some jealousy, right? If you don't like your body and a banging body walks in the room, this guy looks like he just came out of the Muscle, magazine, or this girl looks like she's, off of a video, walks in the room, and now this dom is saying hi, and the girl says hi, and now your sub is like, oh my god, and there's this jealous reaction. Okay, withdraw from intimacy. You might be like, what's going on with my sub? She used to be freaky, now she's doing this weird stuff. What's going on with my wife? And she's not. There might be a body image issue. These are the effects, right, of an insecurity. So, nurturing tip: compliment them, focus on the positive traits, encourage a healthy lifestyle. And also, if you're in a dom sub relationship, now we're going to create playtime and rules and structures that gently lead them away from that mindset. We don't, sometimes in vanilla, you find this abusive thing where these two people need each other to be broken. Here we want to see, okay, this is broken. I'm a dom. How can I play with this and make it fun to leave this behavior? Right? Then you have financial stability. We're just going over these, how they have effects on the relationship, right? Your guy's not making enough money. Your girl's not making enough money. Stress, arguments about money, feelings of inadequacy. Well, I'm doing everything I can. And these stupid money fights, right? So that breaks up lots of relationships, right? So work together on a budget, support each other's financial goals. Instead of going and twirling around the problem in a circle. And then if you're the dom, then maybe that budget is a rule, right? And there's some play time that has to do with that budget, and there's some structure that has to do with that. So now it's fun. If you don't spend more than this, we're going to do this. If you spend more than this, you got to do that. It's something to help them to get out of the negative mindset. You have emotional availability, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, it's a fear of not being emotionally enough, So then what's the effect? I'm not enough. So the effect is clinginess, excessive reassurance seeking and misunderstandings, right? So what do? We're a dom. We see this. This is not just petting. This is something deeper, right? So now we have to actively listen. We have to validate the feelings. We have to spend quality time. And then we have to create rules that help the mind pattern change, right? And that is up to you and your imagination. You're a person who likes to be in control anyway. You'll figure out how to get them out of that. These trust issues. Now, this is a good one. Because I saw a couple the other day in the middle of a parking lot having it. Okay. So, and I just thought for sure somebody's going to kill somebody in the middle of this parking lot about this trust issue argument. All right. Suspicion, consistent checking. I've been in this boat. Okay. I'm checking through the phone. But I wonder if there's some girls in this phone, like, let me look at his Facebook, and guys do it too. How do you deal with that? We pick on it? No, we don't pick on it in BDSM. We build trust, consistent honesty, transparency, open communication, setting boundaries, making rules, making playtime, spending time that's focused. After a while, let them look. Let them look. Let them check. If you're being honest, they ain't gonna find nothing that you didn't already tell them. Okay, so let them run through that so they can come out of that. Don't try to change it in a negative frame, because now you're making it worse. You're just making it way worse, because now you're fussing and fighting and they trust you even less. Right. Intellectual inadequacy. Some people don't think they're smart enough. And you'll find this in people in general, right? If you find it in yourself, being that if you're going to be a dom and you find it in yourself, you need to put things in your own structure that make some of these things change. And you need to tell your sub the things you need them to do to help you come out of these negative places too, right? They need to be embedded in the rules too, the things that help you come out of it. Intellectual inadequacy makes resistance and avoidance. They don't want to be in a crowd talking, and they have a lack of self-worth, and you see all this bad behavior, So encourage each other's interests. Find out what that person's interested in, because they don't think they're smart, but everybody's got some jewelry, right? I told my daughter one time, she's very book smart, and she has a friend that's very domestically capable, very young, and just like she's in the house like my grandma would do. Okay. I'm like, where does this little girl come from? And the little girl was talking to my daughter about school, and she was saying, oh, well, you need to study more or something. And she was getting smart. And I said, listen, this girl runs rings around you. You can't even clean this room. Okay. When she can clean the whole house in the time it takes you to clean a corner. Okay. This is genius. Okay. Everybody has some genius. So if you run into a partner, you really like this person, and they're standing in front of their self because they don't think they're smart enough, they have some inadequacy, start to show them where their strengths are and what your strengths are, and how you lean on them for their strengths. So it's okay to lean on you for yours, right? And then talk to them about what is good about the things that they are into. Find out what they love, what they know about. Celebrate their little achievements and their big achievements. And do not be condescending. Okay? And that goes for everybody. Go ahead and take condescending out of the bag. Throw it away. If you've ever had that trait, figure out how to discipline it out of yourself. Right? Because it's going to get in the way of any valuable relationship you're going to have. And then social acceptance. What are the effects, right, of insecurity about status, or insecurity about, I know subs that they're like, oh my God, I don't want to go. These people are not going to like me. Nobody ever likes me. Right? So what do? They're going to want isolation. They're going to be jealous of even friends. They're going to have social anxiety. These are the ways they're going to act out because of what's going on inside of them. So include them in social activities. Introduce them proudly, right? So they start feeling proud to be there and support their social interactions. And then what else do? You make rules again. You make playtime again. Let's do a scene. We're walking into this social interaction. Now you're putting your playtime, whether it be sexual or psychological, you're putting your playtime in it. So now you're taking a negative thing that makes them nervous and turning it into something else. There's a different feeling that you're connecting to something that's usually a negative feeling, right? So being a dom can be very fun because that same controlling nature that might have been getting you in trouble in vanilla can become a healing to somebody in BDSM, right? Because now they're forbidden to talk badly about themselves. They're forbidden to, pick on themselves. And they have rules around these things. They want to do a goal. They want to go to school. They're forbidden to miss a class. They're forbidden to miss some homework. And there's all this fun, playful structure involved, these punishments and these rewards that change their brain chemistry. Even on trauma, you can erase somebody's trauma. So now your controllingness and awkwardness becomes a superpower. And so those are the, effects of some of these insecurities. And I think I reached them all, and the ways that you can manage them and help.
Okay, I think you're doing great. Just give me a second. We're gonna run a quick commercial and we're gonna get right back into it.
Yeah, DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In the room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on. Niggas out here making moves, see a hand out the type of shit they waiting on.
I think we're having a good, positive show, man. Bringing some of that female energy that's well needed into the conversation, making sure that this isn't all about fun time, play time, just exotic desires and things of that nature, right? There's another nurturing side of BDSM that people don't realize is there, right? And that's the far more important part of BDSM, right? That's a far more important part of what I get out of our dynamic is, I get some nurturing, I get some schooling, some refreshing, some more tools to add to my tool belt, right? Connections are actually very important. It's not all about just a hookup culture. BDSM, that's not what BDSM actually is, right? A lot of many times that I ain't gonna say many. I don't want it to sound like that. But when I know I'm dealing with a real BDSM woman, they're always complicated in these emotional parts, right? And they absolutely need nurturing. That's why in the very first video, I was very careful to make sure that I mentioned that I see this as a person in my care. This is a person who has trusted me with a lot of their secrets. I've trusted them with most of mine, right? And most of my secrets aren't something emotional that I'm having to hold back from my. So, it's a dynamic to where it's healthy for both of us. We both get something out of this physically and emotionally, right? And the emotional part is just as important, if not more. Because if the person isn't emotionally feeling fulfilled about it, right? Even if this isn't an in love situation, right? They're not getting that emotional care. The physical care isn't going to be as enthusiastic as you want it anyway, and
No.
that's perfectly. Let's be really blunt about it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if if it's the kind of person that has made it clear that they are looking for some of this emotional care. You have to be attentive to it. That's a part of BDSM also.
Yes. Yes.
And in that particular way, not much different than your regular vanilla relationship.
Exactly.
The structure of the rewards will probably be a little bit more. I'm not sure of a good word, but more colorful for sure. Right?
Yeah.
Much more flavorful as far as the rewards for actually doing or managing this nurturing aspect of the relationship. So
Right.
yes, let's continue. I think we're doing good. I love the energy. I think I like this, right? I like this a lot more than I thought I would, which is a really good thing. So I'm hoping people out there listening to it are getting stuff from it, and I'm hoping maybe we can hear from some more people about some things that they learned, some of their experiences, some stuff that they even go through, because I'm actually hearing a lot of people say that they didn't even know they were doing BDSM this whole time, but it's it's not as far away from your normal life as you would expect, right? Now, as you get more experienced in being, into your role, you'll start to see some real differences there. But just initially, there are a lot of similarities. There really are. That's
Right. And sometimes it's just a switch. Like you have very definitive vanilla relationships that go over to BDSM just for the structure, just for the open communication, because they're not talking and they're not being, they're running around in a circle. So a lot of times you don't have to be, BDSM doesn't have to be your lifestyle for you to take from it some things that are going to make your vanilla life more positive, So, yeah, I think everybody's kind of doing BDSM, but that's something BDSM people say. We're like, the whole thing's BDSM. When I go to the checkout, like the guy was saying about sales in your show. So in our world, we're like, well, the whole thing's BDSM. See, and we're looking, and we're always like, you see, even when watching TV, we're like, you see, now she is dominant, and he, so we put it on everything. But yeah, you can use it all the time, even when you're in your everyday life, even at your job. You can actually start paying attention when people are talking. We run right through that, understanding who they are. Are they passive? Are they aggressive and dominant? And where can you stand in this conversation that's going to make them more comfortable, and you're going to get over better? Where can you reward them for what they are instead of picking at it? And where can you highlight this as a superpower? And you become more comfortable in your everyday when you start understanding people.
Yep. I tell you, I did not know how much I enjoy clingy until I got into BDSM, and I had to ask myself some of those tough questions, this interesting things you start to learn about yourself as you ask these questions. I mean, obviously not on an extreme level. That's no fun. I don't want somebody. Guys can all picture what an extreme version of clingy would be, but yeah, a healthy version of it. Give me some
right
for some of that. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we are on embracing and understanding criticism versus understanding, right? So key communication strategies, active listening, open-ended questions, and affirmations. What did you want to say about that?
I think I already addressed that one. You have to be careful when you're communicating, right? And this is communication is something that everybody should try to hone, as it should be a priority, right? To learn how to use affirmations instead of criticisms, how to ask questions, real questions. A lot of times when we are in a strictly vanilla mindset and we're sitting in these conversations, making our point. You know, our questions aren't genuine, right? We're asking questions that are leading to making our point. We're not trying to understand what's going on here. So I think just changing the communication all the way, right, to where all of us could use when we first step out of the other way to just slow down. Me and my partner were talking about this yesterday. The slow down, right? Just slow down. Look at yourself first. Start to listen, right? When you ask a question on your next question, ask it genuinely so that you can learn about the person who's talking and understand what is going on. Sometimes people are livid, they're passionate, they're screaming at you. And it's not your job to dissimulate them or rip the cover off of them. What you have to do is understand what are they trying to express and what is going on with them, because once that's a superpower for you too. Once you understand what's going on with them, then you understand what you need to do to make yourself comfortable there, right? And what you need to do to assist them in their discomfort, and so it's a different kind of love, right? Because we say we love each other, but we love each other to do what we want each other to do. And just because you're a dom, that's not your whole job, making sure somebody's doing what you want them to do. Right? I want to make sure she's doing what I want her to do. No,
Yeah,
you want
can't do that.
Right. You want to make sure you have somebody who wants to do what you tell them to do. And you want to make sure that you're worth listening to. What is this person going to get out of it? Because if you're just going to take advantage of the fact that they're submissive, you're just vanilla again, right? So what makes it healthy to listen to you? How is that going to change anybody's life? You really need to ask yourself those things.
Yep, that's when you got to get into that mindset of encouragement. How can I encourage this person to listen to me? How can I make it rewarding for this person to want to follow the rules? And whether that be physical touch, affirmations, or however that person responds, you need to learn that person, be able to have it in a mindset of how can I make this rewarding enough for them to want to participate in whatever it is I have going on. So there's another question on the screen, right? I want to get to this real quickly. I want to answer it first, and I'm gonna let you answer it. How can someone new to BDSM overcome feelings of inadequacy or fear of not being experienced enough? I deal with this as someone who's been participating in it for somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3 years. I met her about 3 years ago. And it's actually called imposter syndrome. I've looked it up. I've done some research on it to try to, help myself work through it. And, you experience it in ways where, like, because you come from a society or an environment, well, it tells you, let's say, I don't know what to use here. Let's say we're talking about roughness, right? Society or the norm tells you that there are certain lines that you shouldn't dare be crossing. You shouldn't even be thinking about going this far, right? And in BDSM, the difference is that your communication should be clear enough to where you're comfortable with telling your partner even what these too far things are, right? And there are partners who are receptive to that, right? I have not had a personal experience with somebody who doesn't mind, I'm trying to keep it PG-13 here, but who doesn't mind a little pain. Let's put it that way, right? I've had experiences with people who don't mind a little pain. I haven't had experiences with somebody who likes like permanent marks, So there's different layers to even let's say flogging or spanking, right? Some people want it to be where it leaves a mark, where they become red or they become sore or there are different paddles or things that you can use that intentionally leave marks. Some of them leave decorative marks at that, right? There are people who take it to that type of level. There are people who don't mind a little blood. Not really my thing, I mean like blood drawn from being hit with an object of some kind. That's their thing. So in BDSM, you don't shame a person for that. You don't tell them, oh wow, you must be some strange human being from another planet because that's what you're into. You're either into it yourself, or you find someone who is a little bit more compatible with the things that you like. If you're not comfortable going that far, that might not be the right kind of person for you. Or if something like that excites you, well, now you guys have something that you can work into y'all's routine, right? And let's say you guys are having a good day, and things get intimate when you guys get back home to the house, and that can be something that you work into y'all's routine because you know how it builds her up. It gets her really excited, right? So you can tease her with that, right? That could be something that could be a process where you guys are constantly figuring out, and don't expect yourself to have it mastered the first time anyway. Right? Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself, but absolutely give yourself permission to make mistakes, and constantly be in communication with your partner about how comfortable they are, about how far you can actually go, or how rough is too rough, how far is too far, and constantly be asking if they're okay and what their concerns are, and then and after you get done, ask again, right? Like what didn't you like about it? How much more could you stand? How much more do you want? All those are good conversations. All those are normal conversations in BDSM, right? So,
right.
What's your take on that, Tinder?
I think that's a great question. The best thing you can do about that is don't be an imposter. I want to say this: if you're learning to be a dom, then when you are expressing yourself, don't say I'm a dom. Say I'm learning to be a dom. If you are learning to be a submissive, training to be a submissive, being mentored to be a submissive, be clear in your communication. I am learning to be a submissive. The best way to kill the imposter syndrome in BDSM is do not become one. That's what they do in vanilla, right? You want to be clear on where you stand inside the life, right? If you're still working on it, let the person know I'm working on this. I might need you to help me try this. A good example of this is I'm working right now to become a rope bunny. I don't have the patience yet. I want to do it, but I'm standing there and these knots are getting tied, and I'm just standing there and these knots are getting tied, and my brain goes a million miles a minute. I'm sure everybody's figured that out by now. So now this is a discipline for me when I have a dom telling me to be quiet and stand there. Okay? Don't think about stuff. Don't interrupt me. Just stand there. Right? This is very good meditation for me because I'm never just standing there being quiet ever. So I can't go now to a place where they're doing, this great show and tying all the girls up and say, I'm a rope bunny, because I am not, but I'm learning to be. So you just got to be very honest. Secondly, take the word inadequacy out of your vocabulary. Okay. You want to be honest with this other person. They know what you are capable of and not capable of if you're having the conversation for real. And you know what they want, and you know if you're capable of doing it or not. So you are adequate. You are being adequately you. If that's inadequate for them, they're probably just not the right partner. Okay. Inadequacy doesn't even exist anymore. Take it out of your bag, throw it away. Okay. And then the other thing, not being experienced enough. Well, none of us are experienced enough. We are all learning. And even if you're finally, like I am a submissive, but even in becoming a submissive and even in becoming very knowledgeable about BDSM, there is still lots of things for me to learn. I have insecurities that are still being, dealt with by my dom. right? I went through a cancer battle. It gave me some body shaming things, right? So there's a lot of work that has to be done on me in several layers of my attitude because of that. So it doesn't matter. You're never going to know everything. This thing can go on forever. It's so colorful. So it's not that you're not experienced enough. It's just that you need to be honest on where your experience is. And if you're going to be able to deal with what this person is honestly telling you they want. Right. And maybe you have to say, well, I've never done that before. I remember long ago, me and my daddy going through that. And I go, I want spankings. That's it. I want these spankings. And he's like, well, I didn't spank nobody before, but let me look into that. Okay. So there are times when you as a couple might say, hey, let's get into that. But I've never been a rope bunny. So I got to stand there while he's figures out how to make me stand there. So there's going to always be new experiences. There's going to, even if they're not, play experiences, they might just be attitude experiences that you have to adjust. But you're not going to know everything ever. So you're not inadequate. You just have to be honest so that you don't get stuck in a place where you think people expect you to be more than you are. And sometimes people expect us to be more than they are because we have presented ourselves as more than we are, right? When you're honest, people don't have that going on. When you come in and you say, I'm Superman, you just came out of, the movie We Shall Not Name. And, you pretend to be Superman when you are not. Now you have put, expectations on yourself, right? So the inadequacy is not coming from the partner. It's because you want to be more, so you presented yourself as more before you've taken the time to get to that level. So as you're communicating with your partner or your potential partners, and you guys are having these conversations at the beginning, okay? Because if you're not, bad. But as you're having these conversations at the beginning, be honest. Even if you're in a dominant space, dominant doesn't mean know-it-all. Dominant means I'm going to get to know whatever I need to know to make sure you're satisfied, I'm satisfied, and we're both safe. Okay. So it doesn't mean you have to know it all, but you do have a responsibility to, study the things that you want to claim to be adequate in. Make sure you studied up, make sure you're reaching out for mentorship, make sure you're buy a couple good books, and if you have a little bit of information, you can kind of use the information you have to gauge whether you're, reading garbage or you're reading something that's really speaking to something you want to hone. So yeah, that's what you do with that. You just don't be one. That's how you deal with that.
Okay. I appreciate that. I like it. I like it. It's a journey. It's like anything else. You really never stop learning, like you're saying. So, you're gonna constantly have things to work through, right? And I think most people have the benefit of having one partner and one person to kind of learn, so it makes it a lot easier, I would say. So that's helpful.
Yeah, for some people it's helpful, I guess. I don't know, but I do know that I've really enjoyed you guys. I am in somebody else's space, and it's getting late, so I have to leave this space and go back to my own space.
Okay. I've got all of this. It's saved, so we can pick up where we left off next time.
Yes, and did I answer the questions already?
I think you did great.
Okay,
did you
cool.
have it? So I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week, Thursday, around 8:00. That's our normal Grown Folk Radio time. We'll get it in and we'll get some more information out to you guys. Peace.
Peace.